Today we are going to continue on with the Tale of Despereaux, and we are on chapter 14, Darkness. Despereaux lay on his back at the bottom of the steps and touched the bones in his body one by one. They were all there, and, amazingly, they were unbroken. He got to his feet and became aware of a terrible, foul, extremely insulting smell. The dungeon reader stank. It stank of despair and suffering and hopelessness, which is to say, the dungeon smelled of rats. It was so dark. Despereaux had never before encountered darkness so awful, so awe-encompassing. The darkness had a physical presence, as if it were being all its own. The mouse held one small paw up in front of his whiskers. He could not see it, and he had the truly alarming thought that perhaps he, Despereaux Tilling, did not even exist. "Oh my," he said out loud. His voice echoed in the smelly darkness. "Perfidy," said Despereaux, just to hear his voice again, just to assure himself that he did exist. "P," said Despereaux, and the name of his beloved was immediately swallowed up by the darkness. He shivered, he shook, he sneezed, his teeth chattered, he longed for his handkerchief. He grabbed hold of his tail. It took him a long, frightening moment to even locate his tail. So absolute was the darkness, to have something, anything, to hold on to. He considered fainting. He deemed it the only reasonable response to the situation in which he found himself, but then he remembered the words of the threadmaster. Honor, courtesy, devotion, and bravery. "I will be brave," thought Despereaux. "I will try to be brave like a knight in shining armor. I will be brave for the Princess P." How best for him to be brave? He cleared his throat. He let go of his tail. He stood up straighter. "Once upon a time," he said out loud to the darkness. He said these words because they were best. They were the best, the most powerful words that he knew, and just the saying of them comforted him. "Once upon a time," he said again, feeling a tiny bit braver, "there was a knight, and he wore always an armor of shining silver." "Once upon a time," boomed a voice from the darkness. "A knight in shining armor? What does a mouse know of such things?" That voice, the loudest voice that Despereaux had ever heard, could only, he assumed, belong to the world's largest rat. Despereaux's small, overworked heart stopped beating, and for the second time that day, the mouse fainted. Chapter 15. Light. When Despereaux awoke, he was cupped in the large, calloused hands of a human, and he was staring into the fire of one match, and beyond the match there was a large, dark eye looking directly at him. "A mouse with red thread," boomed the voice. "Oh yes, Gregory knows the way of mice and rats. Gregory knows. And Gregory has his own thread making of him. See here, mouse." And the match was held to a candle, and the candle sputtered to life, and Despereaux saw that there was a rope tied around the man's ankle. "Here is the difference between us. Gregory's rope saves him, and your thread will be the death of you." The man blew the candle out, and the darkness descended, and the man's hand closed more tightly around Despereaux, and Despereaux felt his bewildered heart start up a crazy rhythm of fear. "Who are you?" he whispered. "The answer to that question, mouse, is Gregory. You are talking to Gregory the jailer, who has been buried here, keeping watch over the dungeon for decades, for centuries, for eons, for eternities. You are talking to Gregory the jailer, who, in the richest of ironies, is nothing but a prisoner here himself." "Oh," said Despereaux. May I get down, Gregory?" "The mouse wants to know if Gregory the jailer will let him go. Listen to Gregory, mouse. You do not want to be let go here. Here in this dungeon, you are in the treacherous, dark heart of the world, and if Gregory was to release you, the twistings and turnings and dead ends and false doorways of this place would swallow you for all eternity. Only Gregory and the rats can find their way through this maze. The rats because they know, because the way of it mirrors their own dark hearts, and Gregory because the rope is forever tied to his ankle to guide him back to the beginning. Gregory would let you go, but you would only beg him to take you up again. The rats are coming for you. You see, they are. Listen," said Gregory. You can hear their tails dragging through the muck and filth. You can hear them filing their nails and teeth. They are coming for you. They are coming to take you apart piece by piece. Despereaux listened, and he was quite certain that he heard the nails of teeth of the rats, the sound of the sharp things being made sharper still. They will strip all the fur from your flesh and all the flesh from your bones. When they are done with you, there will be nothing left except red thread and bones. Gregory has seen it many times, the tragic end of a mouse. But I need to live, said Despereaux. I can't die. You cannot die. Ah, that is lovely. He says he cannot die. Gregory closed his hand more tightly around Despereaux. And why would that be, Mouse? Why is it that you cannot die? Because I'm in love. I love somebody, and it's my duty to serve her. Love, said Gregory. Love? Hark you, I will show you the twisted results of love. Another match was struck. The candle was lit again, and Gregory held it up so that its flame illuminated a massive, towering, teetering pile of spoons and kettles and soup bowls. Look on that, Mouse, said Gregory. That is a monument to the foolishness of love. What is it? Asked Despereaux. He stared at the great tower and reached up into the blackness. What it looks like, spoons, bowls, kettles, all of them gathered here as hard evidence of the pain of loving a living thing. The king loved the queen, and the queen died. This monstrosity, this junk heap, is the result of love. I don't understand, said Despereaux. And you will not understand until you lose what you love. But enough about love, said Gregory. He blew out the candle. We will talk instead about your life, and how Gregory will save it, if you so desire. Why would you save me? Despereaux asked. Have you saved any of the other mice? Never, said Gregory. Not one. Why would you save me then? Because you, Mouse, can tell Gregory a story. Stories are light. Light is precious in a world so dark. Begin at the beginning. Tell Gregory a story. Make some light. And because Despereaux wanted very much to live, he said, Once upon a time. Yes, said Gregory happily. He raised his hand higher and then higher still until Despereaux's whiskers brushed against his leathery, time-worn ear. Go on, Mouse, said Gregory. Tell Gregory a story. And it was in this way that Despereaux became the only mouse sent to the dungeon whom the rats did not reduce to a pile of bones and a piece of red thread. It was in this way that Despereaux was saved. Reader, if you don't mind, that is where we will leave our small mouse for now, in the dark of the dungeon, in the hand of an old jailer, telling a story to save himself. It is time for us to turn our attention elsewhere. Time for us, reader, to speak of rats, and of one rat in particular. End of the first book. And then this picture I'm going to show you says, Go on, Mouse, said Gregory. Tell Gregory a story. Okay. The second book. Chapter 16, Blinded by the Light. As our story continues, reader, we must go backward in time to birth of a rat named Cesario, and called Roscario, a rat born into the filth and darkness of the dungeon, several years before the mouse Despereaux was born upstairs in the light. Reader, do you know the definition of the word Cesario? If you look in your dictionary, you will find that it means the arrangement of light and darkness and light together. Rats do not care for light. Roscario's parents were having a bit of fun when they named their sons. Rats have a sense of humor. Rats, in fact, think that life is very funny. And they are right, reader. They are right. In the case of Cesario, however, the joke had a hint of prophecy to it. For it happened that when Roscario was a very young rat, he came upon a great length of rope on the dungeon floor. Ah, what have we here? Said Roscario. Being a rat, he immediately began to nibble at the rope. Stop that, boomed a voice, and a great hand came out of the darkness and picked the rat up by his tail and held him suspended upside down. Were you nibbling on Gregory's rope, rat? Who wants to know? For even upside down, he was still a rat. You smart alecky rat, You smart alecky rat, nibbling on Gregory's rope. Gregory will teach you to mess with his rope. In keeping Roscoe upside down, Gregory lit a match with the nail of his thumb, and then held the brilliant flame right in Roscoe's face. Ah, said Roscoe. He pulled his head back, away from the light, but alas, he did not choose his eyes, and the flame exploded around him and danced inside him. Has no one told you the rules? Said Gregory. What rules? Gregory's rope, rat, is off limits. So, apologize for chewing on Gregory's rope. I will not apologize. No. Filthy rat, said Gregory. You black-souled thing. Gregory has had it with you rats. He held the match closer to Roscoe's face, and a terrible smell of burnt whiskers rose up around the jailer and the rat. And then the match went out, and Gregory released Roscoe's tail. He flung him back into the darkness. Do not ever touch Gregory's rope again, or you will be sorry. Roscoe sat on the dungeon floor. The whiskers on the left side of his face were gone. His heart was beating hard, and though the light from the match had disappeared, it danced still before the rat's eyes, even when he closed them. Light, he said aloud, and then whispered the word again, light. From that moment forward, Roscoe showed an abnormal, inordinate interest in illumination of all sorts. He was always, in the darkness of the dungeon, on the lookout for light, the smallest glimmer, the tiniest shimmer. His rat soul longed inexplicably for it. He began to think that the light was the only thing that gave life meaning, and he despaired that there was so little of it to be had. He finally voiced this sentiment to his friend, a very old, one-eared rat named Botticelli Morso. I think, said Roscoe, that the meaning of life is light. Light, said Botticelli. Ha ha ha, you kill me. Light has nothing to do with it. What does it all mean, then? Asked Roscoe. The meaning of life is suffering, specifically the suffering of others. Prisoners, for instance. Reducing a prisoner to weeping and wailing and begging is a delightful way to invest your existence with meaning. As he spoke, he swung from the one extraordinarily long nail of his right front paw a heart-shaped locket. He had taken the locket from a prisoner and hung it on a thin braided rope. Whenever he spoke, the locket moved. Back and forth it swung. Are you listening? He asked Roscoe. I am listening. Good. Do as I say, and your life will be full of meaning. This is how to torture a prisoner. First, you must convince him that you are a friend. Listen to him. Encourage him to confess his sins. And when the time is right, talk to him. Tell him what he wants to hear. Tell him, for instance, that you will forgive him. This is a wonderful joke to play upon a prisoner, to promise forgiveness. Why? Said Roscoe. His eyes went back and forth, following the locket. Because you will promise it. Ha, but you will not grant it. You gain his trust, and then you deny him. You refuse to offer the very thing he wants. Forgiveness, freedom, friendship, whatever it is that his heart desires most, you withhold. At this point in his lecture, he laughed so hard that he had to sit down and catch his breath. The locket swayed slowly back and forth and then stopped altogether. Ha, he said. Ha ha ha. You gain his trust, you refuse him, and ha ha, you become what he knew you were all along. What you knew you were all along. Not a friend, not a confessor, not a forgiver, but ha ha, a rat. Botticelli wiped his eyes and shook his head and sighed a great sigh of contentment. He set the locket in motion again. At that point, it is most effective to run back and forth over the prisoner's feet, including physical terror along with the emotional sort. Oh, he said, it is such a lovely game, such a lovely game. And it is absolutely chock full of meaning. I would like to very much torture a prisoner, said Roscoe. I would like to make someone suffer. Your time will come, said Botticelli. Currently, all the prisoners are spoken for, but another prisoner will arrive sooner or later. How do I know this to be true? Because, Roscoe, thankfully there is evil in the world, and the presence of evil guarantees the existence of prisoners. So, soon there will be a prisoner for me? Yes, said Botticelli. Remorso. Yes, I'm looking forward to it. Ha ha ha, of course you are looking forward to it. You are looking forward to it because you are a rat. A real rat. Yes, said Roscuro, I am a real rat. Concerned not at all with the light, said Botticelli. Concerned not at all with the light, repeated Roscuro. Botticelli laughed again and shook his head. The locket, suspended from the long nail on his paw, swung back and forth, back and forth. You, my young friend, are a rat. Exactly. Yes. Evil. Prisoners, rats, suffering. It all fits together so neatly, so sweetly. Oh, it is a lovely world, a lovely dark world. Chapter 17, Small Comforts. Not long after this conversation between Botticelli and Roscuro, a prisoner did arrive. The dungeon door slammed, and the two rats watched a man being led by a king's soldier down the stairs into the dungeon. Excellent, whispered Botticelli. This one is yours. Roscuro looked at the man closely. I will make him suffer, he said. But as he stared up at the man, the door to the dungeon was suddenly flung open, and a thick and brilliant shaft of afternoon light cut into the dark of the dungeon. Ugh, said Botticelli, and covered his eyes with one paw. Roscuro, however, stared directly into the light. Reader, this is important. The rat called Chiaroscuro did not look away. He let the light from the upstairs world enter him and fill him. He gasped aloud at the wonder of it. Give him his small comforts, shouted a voice at the top of the stairs, and a red cloth was thrown into the light. The cloth hung suspended for a moment, bright red and glowing, and then the door was slammed shut again, and the light disappeared, and the cloth fell into the floor. It was Gregory, the jailer, who bent to pick it up. Go on, said the old man as he held out the cloth to the prisoner. Take it. You'll need every last bit of warmth down here. And so the prisoner took the cloth and draped it around his shoulders as if it were a cloak. And the soldier of the king said, Right then, Gregory, he's all yours. And the soldier turned away and went back up the steps and opened the door to the outside world, and some small light leaked in before he closed the door behind him. And then this picture says, Roscuro, however, stared directly into the light. Did you see that? Roscuro said to Botticelli. Hideously ugly, said Botticelli. Ridiculous. What can they possibly mean by letting all that light in at once? Don't they know that this is a dungeon? It was beautiful, said Roscuro. No, said Botticelli. No. He looked at Roscuro intently. Not beautiful. No. I must see more light. I must see all of it, said Roscuro. I must go upstairs. Botticelli sighed. Who cares about the light? Your obsession with it is tiresome. Listen, we are rats. Rats. We do not like light. We are about darkness. We are about suffering. But, said Roscuro, upstairs. No buts, said Botticelli. No buts. None. Rats do not go upstairs. Upstairs is the domain of mice. He took the locket from around his neck. What, he said, swinging it back and forth, is this rope made of? Whiskers. The whiskers of whom? Mice. Exactly. And who lives upstairs? Mice. Exactly. Mice. Botticelli turned his head and spat on the floor. Mice are nothing but little packages of blood and bones, afraid of everything. They are despicable, laughable, and the opposite of everything we strive to be. Do you want to live in their world? Roscuro looked up past Botticelli to the delicious sliver of light that shone out from underneath the door. He said nothing. Listen, said Botticelli, this is what you should do. Go and torture the prisoner. Go and take the red cloth from him. The cloth will satisfy your cravings for something from that world, but do not go up into that light. You will regret it. As he spoke, the locket swung back and forth, back and forth. You do not belong in that world. You are a rat. A rat. Say it with me. A rat, said Roscuro. Ah, but you are cheating. You must say, I am a rat, said Botticelli, smiling his slow smile at Roscuro. I am a rat, said Roscuro. Again, said Botticelli, swinging his locket. I am a rat. Exactly, said Botticelli. A rat is a rat is a rat. End of story. World without end. Amen. Yes, said Roscuro. Amen. I am a rat. He closed his eyes. He saw again the red cloth spinning against the backdrop of gold. And he told himself, reader, that this was the cloth that he desired and not the light. Okay, so we're going to stop there for today and go ahead and keep using this book in your reading class with Mrs. Schaefer. Email me or Miss Hopper with any questions. We'd love to hear from you guys, and be on the lookout for Zoom chats on Friday from us.